Welcome back to the channel, all my food warriors. Today we are making another Italian classic, pasta with sausage and zucchini. But as always, we have a little bit of a twist to this recipe, as once again I was out in the garden and I saw I had a bunch of fresh kale that needed to be picked. So you know what, we're going to add some of that kale to this dish as well, up the veggie quotient and make it even more healthy. So we're going to start things off. This is so quick. I've got my water boiling for my pasta already. It's on the heat, and in the amount of time it takes me to make this sauce, my pasta will be ready and everything will come together right at the last minute. So what I have here is a pound of lean ground pork. Just lean ground pork in a pan with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, only 3-4 tablespoons of olive oil. And what I want to do is get this started. There we are. Gonna get this up to temperature, and then I'm gonna season my pork. So what we're going to season our pork with, we want essentially some of the flavors of a good Italian sausage. And when I think of Italian sausage, the flavor that comes to mind to me is always fennel. It's just one of those flavors that you find in so many traditional Italian sausages, and we are gonna augment our meat here with that. So let's just start with a little bit of salt and pepper. This is just a little bit of sea salt. We've got some cracked black pepper here as well. Just add that in. Now I do like my sausage a little spicy, so I do have just some chili pepper flakes here. So we're just going to add a couple of pinches here to our pan, and then we've got, these are fennel seeds. Now this, if you've ever had a real Italian sausage, this is one of the flavors that is just unbelievably authentic. So I'm going to add a couple of pinches of fennel seed here as well, and I'm going to start to break up my pork. Now what I want to do is just break this up so that as it cooks, all of those seasonings will mix in with the meat. Oh, just as those spices hit the hot oil, just, oh, the smell, unbelievably fragrant in the kitchen. So we are just going to mix this up. Maybe we'll take the heat down a little bit. And we're just going to break up our pork here. Now, if there's anyone out there that doesn't eat pork, feel free to use ground turkey. Works well in this application as well. But in this case, I want to make this traditional and authentic, and so I'm using a good quality organic lean ground pork. Now, while this is going to be the foundation to our dish, we do have a lot of vegetables that are going to be going into this as well. So we're going to get our vegetables ready as our meat is browning. We've got one good sized yellow onion here, white onion. I want to leave my root end here intact, and as I slice this down, I'm slicing it down to about maybe 85-90% of the onion. That root I'm leaving intact, otherwise all of this would be falling all over my board, and it just makes it a lot easier for me to slice later on. There we are. Now I don't want to cut this too fine. This is a fairly rustic dish. What we have here today is some peasant cooking, some peasant food. This is really rustic country cooking that's made in the home. And really, when we're talking about Italian food, that's really some of the best food in the entire cuisine. So we'll continue to break this up. We'll just let this go. We'll let this keep browning. Meanwhile, we will dice up our onion. This is about, I'd say, 1/4 inch dice. And as we get to that root end, which remained intact, we're going to give this just a quick slice, and that way we don't waste anything at all. So the second half of our onion here. Now you'll notice as I'm slicing, my fingers are kept out of the way. I'm using my knuckle to guide my knife, and that way each one of these slices is relatively uniform. And as we get to our end piece here, we'll just give that a quick slice. So we've got one good sized onion. It's going to be the base of our dish here. I've got a couple of cloves of garlic as well. I'm just going to give these a quick crush before we slice them up as well. we are. And then we will just add these to our onion. There we are. There we go. Now, we've got 4 zucchini as well. Now, normally I would make this dish. If I was just using zucchini, I'd use a couple more of these, but because we've got our beautiful kale from the garden as well, we're just going to use 4 baby zucchini, and we're going to continue to bulk this out with some kale. So while this is going, we just want to make sure, again, we are breaking up our pork here. Now we want this pork to get a good bit of color. That caramelization is going to bring a ton of flavor to this dish. There's very few ingredients here, so we want all of the ingredients in this dish to really stand out and speak for themselves. So with our zucchini, we're just going to give these a quick trim, tip and tail. Are. Move these off to the side. Now these have been washed. These are fresh from the farmer's market. Absolutely great to use these when they are beautifully fresh as they are. Now for these zucchini, all we're going to do is we're going to give them a slice and a quarter. Now, if you get some of the larger zucchini and you see some of the seeds start to get bigger, this inside area here may tend to get a little bit gummy. If that's the case on a larger zucchini, I would just trim that away. But with these baby ones, we don't have to worry about that at all. So all I'm going to do is give these guys just a quick slice up here. There we are. And you'll see as we go, we are going to have a board full of vegetables by the time we're done here. So this is really a vegetable-based pasta. Very, very healthy. We eat this a lot during the summer months when fresh vegetables are in season. Either local vegetables that we have in the garden or those that we can find at our local farmers markets. Whenever we can, we like to support our local farmers. We'll let this continue to go. We'll continue to slice up our zucchini. Alright. So I'm going to continue to slice these up. We're going to let our meat brown, and I will see you in about 2 minutes. Alright, we are back. Our sausage meat has colored beautifully. All of our vegetables are cut up. Now this is a striking array of vegetables. This really is a vegetable-based pasta. We're going to get all of this stuff right into our pan, and hopefully we don't make too much of a mess while we do that. So we've got our onion, our garlic. If I had a fresh chili, I'd cut that up and put this in here as well. Seeing as I don't, I've just got some dried chili flakes in with our sausage mixture. And there we are. Now keep in mind, with all of this meat and vegetable that we have here in the pan, this really is going to feed, I'd say easily, 6 hungry people. We're just going to get some salt and pepper in there just to season our vegetables. There we are. Alright. And before you know it, that salt will draw the moisture out of the vegetables, and it will start to pull all of those beautiful brown bits off the bottom of the pan. Those are all of the caramelized juices from our meat, and that will really become a key flavoring agent as we get down to the final steps and make our sauce here. There we are. Now when we make pasta at home, pasta is one of those things that really is a blank canvas. It can the accompaniment, whether it's a sauce or in this case mostly a vegetable-based accompaniment, can be absolutely anything that you have kicking around the fridge, kicking around the house, anything that's in season. And don't get me wrong, I love a big pot of bolognese sauce and a nice plate of pasta bolognese. There's nothing wrong with that. But as the seasons get warmer, as there's more variety of produce out there, we do like to use what's fresh and what's in season in making dishes that are really, really vibrant and really, really colorful. And then we get the added benefit of all of the different nutritional elements of the different vegetables that we can use in our pasta. So yes, on the channel at some point I will make a big pot of bolognese sauce and we will go through that as an option. But seeing that these beautiful fresh vegetables are in season and readily available, this is what we are going to make today. So we're just going to check our water here. We are just about coming up to the boil. So I will let this continue to cook down, let the water leach out of our vegetables. And as that happens, we're going to wilt these down. And when we come back, we are going to head right to the kale. I will see you in about 3 or 4 minutes. All right, we are back. It has been a few minutes now. Our water is right up to a rolling boil. So we will just take the lid off. You notice our vegetables have cooked down beautifully. We're just going to add our salt and our pasta to the water. So just a couple of tablespoons. This is probably 3 tablespoons of a good sea salt. And then what I've got here is just 500 grams of a good organic pinne rigate, bronze die cut. Any short pasta will work well for this application. So I've got my pinne here. I'm just going to add these right to the boiling water. And we're going to give this a stir just to get these guys moving along. We don't want any of these noodles to be stuck together as we go. Now, in our pan here, we've got a little bit of stickage at the bottom of the pan. So we're going to add a little bit of moisture to bring this all together and start to bring this into a sauce. So what I have here, this is about 4 ounces of a good dry white wine. Any dry Italian white wine would do. Pinot Grigio, Soave, Orvieto, Castelli di Gesi, whatever you have kicking around the house would work. And then what we also have here is a little bit of chicken stock. So I'm going to add probably about a cup or so of chicken stock, and we're going to let this cook down. So while we cook this down, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to let this tighten up a little bit, and then we will be right back. All right, we are back. We are on to our kale. So in the garden, I've got 2 different kinds of kale. This is what's called a salad kale. So typically you pick these when they're a little bit smaller and you mix these in with salad greens. Great for a salad mix. These are a little bit peppery on the finish. And even the stems of these are very tender, so I can just cut these up and throw them in. This is what we call cabronero. This is the famous Tuscan black kale. Again, these stems are at this size, at this age, very, very tender. These have been washed and dried. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these up into fine ribbons. And I'm going to throw them right into our pasta sauce. So we'll start with the first half of these greens. We'll just get them bound up into a nice tight pile. And we'll just start to cut up some very, very fine ribbons. Now these are not going to take long at all to cook. And if you want to talk about a nutritional powerhouse, it doesn't get much better than kale. I mean, vitamins, minerals, fiber, these are absolutely phenomenal from a health perspective. And when you can grow these, and they grow very, very easily. We have these in our garden. Literally, these were in the dirt about 10 minutes ago. So we're just going to cut all of this up, and we're just going to add it right to our dish. There you go. Sometimes part of cooking and creating a meal is just about looking what's around you, getting inspired by what you see, and using what's readily available. And in this case, the kale was readily available, ready to be picked. and so we're using it in this application. Adds a good bit of variety to our menu, and from a health perspective, it really doesn't get much better than this. So we will cut all of this up, and you'll see as we put this into our pan, now that we've got some liquid in there, we've got a bit of a moist environment. The kale will wilt down beautifully, and these stems will get a little bit more tender, and that way we've got the best of both. We've got an interesting flavor contrast, we've got an interesting texture contrast, and we've got all of the nutritional upside of the entire plant. There we are. All right. There we are. All right, we will give this a stir. And we will get that right in there. Oh, the smell. The beauty of using two types of kale, like I said, that salad kale is a little bit spicy, a little bit peppery, has almost reminiscent of rapini or kind of something from the mustard family, mustard greens. So it gives you a good contrast and flavor. The black kale from Tuscany, that's a little more mild, but it's a little bit juicier as a green. So it's going to give you a good contrast of flavors, a good contrast of textures. There we are. So we're just going to let this come up to the simmer, and literally when our pasta is done, we will be ready to go. So we've got about 5 more minutes, as I can see from my timer on our pasta. I will see you in 5 minutes. And we are back. Our pasta is ready. Our sauce is thickening up beautifully and just coming together. So we will get this pasta off the heat and drained into our colander. There we are. And then we will finish this off in our sauce. There we go. There we are. All right, we will bring this over. Let it drain for a couple of seconds just to get the excess water out of there. And there we are. Now we're just going to finish the pasta cooking in our sauce. This way the surface starch from the noodles can thicken up the mixture a little bit, and any of the excess liquid that's in our sauce can actually cook into our noodles, and this is the way it's all to be brought together. Oh, I can't get over it. There's so much steam in this kitchen. I'm getting a facial this morning. There we are. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. There we are. All right. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to let this cook for about 30 seconds. I'm going to get myself a serving spoon, and I will be right back. We are done. We're just going to cut the heat. Now, you can see this, the liquid that was on the bottom of this has started to cook into the noodles. The starch has started to thicken the sauce. We are absolutely ready to serve. Now, who wouldn't want to sit down and dig into a plate of this? Absolutely fantastic. We are. Make sure we get a little bit of everything here. And there we are. A little bit more of the vegetables from the top. Look at that. Now, as we always do, we're going to take a nice bit of unfiltered olive oil, and we're just going to drizzle this right over the top just to get that raw olive oil taste. Freshly cut grass, the fresh artichokes, There's a lot of complexity in olive oil. So a good quality unfiltered olive oil just to finish the dish. And then as always we have our freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano from a big wedge of cheese. None of that pre-grated stuff. We can do a lot better than that. So we're just going to take a little bit of our cheese, just like that. And now we've got our spoon. Oh, look at that. Now if this doesn't say summer, I don't know what does. Oh, that's good. The sausage, savory, ton of flavor. You taste the fennel seeds, you taste the garlic, you taste the onions, you taste all of the vegetables, you taste those fennel seeds, you taste just a background of heat from those chili flakes, but just unbelievable. An unbelievable dish. This is made for summer. I do hope you try it. As always, do like and subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and I will see you on the next one.